Welcome to my channel. In the spring of 2019, as the United States Mint continued its widely celebrated America the Beautiful Quarters program, a new coin quietly entered circulation, one that few Americans would immediately recognize as historically significant. Among the 56 quarters planned for release in this ambitious program was a coin commemorating American Memorial Park, located in Saipan, part of the Northern Mariana Islands. Its release marked not just a geographical milestone in U.S. commemorative coinage, but unknowingly, it would also introduce one of the most mysterious and valuable mint errors of the modern era. The American Memorial Park quarter featured a deeply reflective and somber design. Its reverse depicted a young woman in traditional island attire standing solemnly before the court of honor and flag circle, her gaze fixed on the massive structure before her, an eternal monument to the 5,204 U.S. service members who gave their lives during the Marianas Campaign of World War II. The obverse, of course, continued to feature John Flanagan's classic rendering of George Washington, whose face had dominated the quarter for decades. With millions of these coins struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point mints, few expected that any one coin could rise above the rest in value or historical weight. But within that sea of perfectly minted coins, a handful were flawed in a way so rare, so unusual, that they would become objects of intense scrutiny, fascination, and eventual obsession. In the early fall of that same year, in a quiet corner of Wisconsin, a lifelong coin collector named Eleanor Raymond sat at her dining room table under the glow of a desk lamp. With weathered fingers and a worn magnifier passed down by her father, she was meticulously reviewing bank rolls of quarters. This was her ritual, her joy. But that night would be different. In a fresh roll of 2019 quarters sourced from her local credit union, Eleanor spotted something odd, subtle at first, almost imperceptible. On a coin bearing the W mint mark of the West Point Mint, a relatively rare production facility for quarters, the reverse design appeared off-center. Upon closer inspection, she noticed a strange ghosting behind the main design, almost as if another image had been pressed over it and then quickly erased. Her pulse quickened. Eleanor had seen dozens of misstrikes and die cracks in her life, but this was different. Something deeper. Something that whispered accident, an anomaly in a coin meant to represent solemn honor. As she tilted the quarter under the lamplight, the details sharpened. The woman's figure seemed doubled ever so faintly. The edge of one flagpole seemed to split. The plaque bore duplicate etchings, like an echo. With trembling hands, Eleanor mailed the coin to a professional grading service known for identifying rare mint errors. Weeks passed. Then came the phone call that would send her quiet life spiraling into headlines and collector forums. Her coin was real. A legitimate mint error. But not just any error. A mule error, one of the rarest and most coveted anomalies in U.S. coinage. It turned out that at some point during the chaotic minting process, the reverse die for the American Memorial Park quarter had been accidentally paired with an obverse or collar die from a different quarter entirely, possibly from an earlier state series or another territorial issue. The result was a coin struck with mismatched dies, producing ghosted or doubled features and minute distortions throughout the design. How such a mistake had escaped detection in a high-security, precision-controlled minting environment baffled experts. But Eleanor's discovery had proved that not only had such a mule coin been struck, it had been released into circulation unnoticed. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Online numismatic forums lit up with speculation. Was it an isolated incident? Could there be more out there? Collectors and dealers across the country began hunting through their 2019 quarters, examining them with newfound scrutiny. The West Point Mint mark became the target. People who had ignored their spare change now pulled out magnifying glasses, hoping lightning would strike twice. Auction houses, always eager for rare finds, began contacting Eleanor. They wanted the coin for showcase events. They wanted it for museum exhibits. But above all, they wanted it for bidding wars. Eleanor hesitated, holding tightly to the piece of metal that had connected her to her late father, who had sparked her love for coins in the first place. Still, she agreed to place the coin at auction. With no reserve. On the night of the sale, the coin drew national attention. Not only was it the first confirmed mule error from the American Memorial Park series, but it was also in excellent condition, preserved beautifully, with its errors sharply visible. The bidding began conservatively, but as phone and online offers flooded in, the numbers climbed faster than anyone anticipated. When the hammer finally fell, the final sale price landed at $61,000, a staggering figure for a coin released just months earlier. Collectors watched in stunned silence as history was rewritten. In the months that followed, more anomalies from the American Memorial Park Quarter series surfaced, some featuring minor die shifts, others with off-center strikes, but none as dramatic or as clean as Eleanor's. The demand surged. Coin dealers began offering thousands just to obtain error variants of the same quarter. But few could match the clarity or significance of that original mule strike. What made this quarter so remarkable wasn't just the mistake, it was the way the mistake was carried. The coin still honored its intent, but the accidental overlay of another design gave it a spectral duality, a metaphorical echo of all forgotten moments in history that had gone unnoticed. In a way, it symbolized not just the war heroes of the Northern Marianas, but the lost chapters of minting history that remained buried in bank rolls and drawers across America. The American Memorial Park Quarter has now cemented itself in numismatic lore. Serious collectors continue to hunt for rare 2019 errors from this series, and although only a few genuine mule coins have been authenticated to date, the legend continues to grow. Its tale is one of coincidence, dedication, and a bit of fate, one woman's eye catching what millions missed. Today, depending on condition, clarity of the error, and market demand, the 2019 U.S. American Memorial Park Quarter with this kind of rare error is estimated to be worth anywhere from $20,000 to $75,000. A small piece of modern metal. A massive piece of modern history. In the autumn of 2020, amid global uncertainty and societal pause, the United States Mint quietly released one of its final issues under the America, the Beautiful Quarters program. It was the Marsh-Billings-Rockefeller National Historical Park Quarter, a coin that at first seemed to blend into the crowded lineup of commemorative quarters. Yet as time passed and careful hands sorted through change jars and coin rolls, this Vermont-based coin began whispering secrets of rare errors, hidden worth, and a twist no collector saw coming. The design of the Marsh-Billings-Rockefeller Quarter was, in many ways, a tribute to stewardship. It honored not just a park but a philosophy, conservation and sustainable land use. On its reverse, a young woman plants a seedling in the forest, the roots of the past feeding the soil of the future. Trees tower around her, a representation of renewal and legacy. The obverse remained consistent with John Flanagan's classic George Washington portrait, a time-honored feature familiar to every American, minted in Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and for collectors, the limited West Point Mint. The 2020 release was never expected to command exceptional value. It was, after all, the second-to-last coin in the decade-long series. And yet, beneath the ordinary, something extraordinary was quietly circulating. Across the country, in a small town in Kentucky, a novice coin hobbyist named Martin Reyes stumbled upon a roll of freshly minted quarters he had purchased from a bank branch. A middle school teacher with a passion for American history, Martin had only recently started looking at coins more seriously, encouraged by a local club. On a quiet evening, while sorting through those new quarters under a magnifying glass at his dining table, he paused. One coin caught his eye. Not for what it had, but for what it lacked. The edge of the coin seemed off. As he tilted it in the light, Martin noticed that it appeared thicker than the others. He turned the coin repeatedly, observing subtle inconsistencies in the reading, the ridges along the coin's edge, and the fields appeared unusually smooth. There was no immediate doubling or cracking, but something felt wrong. The young woman planting the tree seemed slightly blurred, her arm not perfectly aligned. Her features were soft in places where they should have been sharp. Uncertain, Martin turned to online forums, where images of rare 2020 Marsh-Billings-Rockefeller errors had just begun surfacing. He posted photos, asking for input. The responses flooded in. Most dismissed it as a worn die issue. But one collector, based in Texas, sent a private message that would change Martin's perspective. "This may be a wrong planchet error. You might have something very special." Curious, Martin sent the coin to a grading service for authentication. The weeks waiting for the result were filled with anxious excitement. When the package finally returned, the verdict shocked him. The quarter had indeed been struck on a foreign planchet, metal intended for another denomination or even another country altogether. A 2020 Marsh Billings Rockefeller quarter, struck on a planchet not meant for U.S. quarter production, had somehow slipped past all security checks and ended up in the hands of a curious teacher. Planchet errors are extremely rare, especially in modern coinage. They often result from blanks left in mint machinery from other batches. In this case, the planchet was slightly thinner and made of a different alloy, possibly from a test run or leftover foreign contract. It explained the unusual weight, the strange texture, and the off-kilter appearance. It was a mistake, yes, but the kind that makes collectors take notice. Word spread quickly in numismatic circles. At a regional coin show in Ohio, Martin's coin became a centerpiece display. Attendees lined up to see it. Dealers made offers. Journalists covering the event took notes and photos. Here was a coin with a story. A story of oversight in one of the most secure minting facilities in the world, and of a schoolteacher who simply wanted to teach history through coins. What elevated this coin beyond its technical rarity was the emotional narrative tied to it. As America faced a year of isolation and reflection, a coin that honored conservation and quiet resilience had made its way into history not just through design, but through a rare accident of creation. In the months that followed, a handful of other error coins from the same series were reported. Some were double dies, where design features appeared duplicated due to misaligned dies. Others had minor color shifts or off-center strikes. But Martin's coin remained unique, the only known planchet error for the 2020 Marsh Billings Rockefeller quarter confirmed by multiple grading bodies at that time. By late 2021, the coin was listed at auction. Anticipation buzzed throughout the community. Unlike flashy gold or ancient foreign coins, this was a quiet piece, simple, silver-toned, and rooted in a moment. The auction house opened bidding modestly, but as collectors recognized the story behind the coin, prices climbed. First $5,000, then $12,000, then $25,000. With competitive phone bids and online action, the final hammer fell at a stunning $67,000. What had begun as a chance find from a coin roll at a local bank had become one of the most notable modern era coins of its year. Martin, stunned and humble, donated part of the proceeds to a local environmental education fund in his school district, honoring the coin's theme of conservation. Today, the Marsh Billings Rockefeller quarter carries a special place in modern coin collecting. While most examples fetch standard face value, those with errors, particularly planchet mistakes, dramatic double dies, or significant misalignments, are considered treasures by collectors who know what to look for. Depending on the rarity and severity of the error, authenticated examples of this coin have sold for anywhere from $10,000 to $75,000, especially those tied to compelling backstories and traceable provenance. It serves as a reminder that even in our modern age of precision and control, beauty can still emerge from error, and that sometimes history hides in the smallest, shiniest places. In early 2022, a new quarter began appearing in pocket change across the United States. Subtle, unannounced, and for many, just another coin in an already busy year. But this quarter held a deeper resonance. It was the first in the American Women Quarters program, and it featured a woman whose voice had echoed across generations: Maya Angelou. Her legacy, her strength, and her literary power were now etched into metal, silently traveling through hands, stores, and pockets, bringing her image into everyday life. Few suspected that among these millions of quarters, an extraordinary error lay hidden, waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover it. The Maya Angelou quarter marked a historical moment for U.S. coinage. It was the first time an African-American woman appeared on a U.S. quarter. On the reverse, artist Emily Damstraw captured Angelou in a powerful, almost spiritual stance, arms raised, with a bird soaring behind her and rays of sunlight radiating outward. The imagery was symbolic of Maya Angelou's poem, "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings," a visual embodiment of resilience, freedom, and voice. On the obverse, George Washington's profile, newly redesigned by Laura Garden Fraser, faced right, opposite of the long-standing left-facing portrait, adding another layer of change to a coin already rich with significance. Millions of these coins were minted, produced in Philadelphia and Denver for circulation, and in San Francisco for collectors. It was a widely publicized issue, celebrated in headlines, classrooms, and coin-collecting magazines. Yet not all of the coins that left the mint were flawless. Among them, a rare few bore the scars of a mechanical misstep, an error so subtle, so well hidden, that only a trained, patient observer could catch it. In Southern California, a retired literature professor named Sylvia Hernandez was one such observer. She had spent her career teaching Maya Angelou's writings, drawing from her own cultural heritage to explain the nuances of voice and identity to students of all ages. Coin collecting had always been her quiet hobby, a relaxing contrast to the rigors of academic life. So when she first heard that Maya Angelou would grace the reverse of a quarter, she made it her mission to collect as many pristine examples as she could point. One evening, after exchanging cash for quarters at a nearby bank, an ordinary transaction she had done many times before, Sylvia returned home and poured the coins onto a soft cloth spread across her kitchen table. One coin immediately stood out, not because of its shine, but because something in the background of the design didn't sit right. The rays of light behind Maya's figure looked doubled, as though another layer had been slightly shifted and reimpressed. The bird's wings looked almost like they were mid-flutter, a ghostly second pair emerging just behind. Sylvia didn't react with instant excitement. Years of reading and rereading taught her to be patient, analytical. She compared the coin to others in the same batch. None shared the odd doubling effect. Her first instinct was a simple die deterioration. But something else caught her eye. Along the coin's rim, the edge appeared misaligned, ever so slightly thinner than its counterparts. The coin also seemed to lack some of the sharpness that should have defined its fields. Curious and cautious, she contacted a local coin dealer and shared her find. They examined the piece under high magnification and quickly confirmed that what Sylvia held wasn't ordinary. It was a double die reverse error, one where the reverse image had been struck twice, but not perfectly aligned. Even more, the coin had a slightly rotated die, meaning the reverse side was turned slightly off-axis in relation to the obverse. This kind of error, while rare, occasionally slips through the rigorous quality controls of the mint, especially during high production runs when speed and quantity are prioritized. What made this particular error significant was the subject matter. An error on a coin bearing the image of Maya Angelou, a poet who famously embraced imperfection and found grace within it, seemed almost poetic in itself. Word of Sylvia's coin spread, and quickly, collectors wanted to see it. Not just for the error, but for what it symbolized. Dealers praised the coin's condition. It was crisp, uncirculated, and bore all the hallmarks of an authentic minting error. The doubling was clear, but not overwhelming, the die rotation measurable but not dramatic. It was an elegant error, an understated masterpiece of accidental art. She was offered generous amounts in private sales, but Sylvia declined. For her, the coin wasn't just a collectible, it was a symbol, a bridge between her passion for literature and her love of numismatics. But eventually, she decided to allow the coin to be displayed at a numismatic exhibit celebrating women in American history. For several months, it traveled between museums and collectors' shows, drawing crowds of curious viewers, many of whom had never heard of a mint error before. Later that year, at a national coin auction, Sylvia's coin was finally put up for sale. It sparked immediate bidding. Not only was it a rare double die with a rotated die strike, but it was also the first known error of its kind on the Maya Angelou quarter, a fact verified by two major grading organizations. With collectors eager to secure a piece of modern history, the bidding soared. By the time the auctioneer's gavel came down, the coin had sold for $46,000, an unexpected figure for a modern quarter, but one that made sense considering its rarity, timing, and narrative. The sale became headline news in coin collecting circles, and the coin itself was soon featured in articles, video reviews, and even classroom discussions about the surprising worth of small, overlooked things. Today, only a handful of verified errors on the 2022 Maya Angelou quarter have been recorded. Among them are die chips around the rays of light, minor die breaks in the bird's wing, and in rare cases, full double die reverses similar to Sylvia's. These coins have become increasingly valuable as collectors shift focus toward modern era coins, unique pieces that tell complex stories within simple designs. Depending on the type of error and the coin's condition, a Maya Angelou quarter with a confirmed and visually strong error can now be worth anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. It's a staggering climb from a 25-cent coin's intended value, but also a fitting tribute to the woman whose words and legacy continue to rise beyond expectation. In a world where value often hides in plain sight, the Maya Angelou quarter reminds us that even something as small as a coin can carry a message that endures.